country. And in offshore, we have, like installations and drilling locations away from Mumbai, and as well as, like, in the eastern, like offshore also. Just to give an idea, like, well, we have 1,575 offshore, drilling locations and installations. And onshore, we have 825 locations. And our total manpower, put together, it's around 33,000 officers and staff. And besides that, we have secondary workforce numbering around more than 20,000. And as HR, we take care of, retired employees also, and their medical care is taken care. And their number is around 20,000. Now, why I mention all this? Because, amidst COVID, each and every one of the citizen, and there, like the preventive care being taken by each and every one of the citizen matters a lot. So, like, in our, like operating pattern, our crew members operate on 14 days on-off pattern. Once they go to the rig or installation in offshore or onshore, they'll have to remain there for 14 days. And then, like after 14 days, the crew change happens. Now, the COVID had thrown up a major challenge, for ONGC and as well as other oil sector E&P companies, because once the lockdown has been announced, the crew members got stuck and they had to continue beyond 14 days. And there are, just for the information of, all participants here, we have even, women executives, women engineers who are there, in the offshore installations. And there are, quite a good number of success stories from these, young women engineers also, who continue to stay without break in offshore for 65 days during the lockdown period, because we could not, move them out. So that became the major challenge and post-COVID. And other than this, like, with the oil price, going down in the international oil market, that really come and, hit, our performance in terms of, the financial revenues and profit in last year. And like, just to give a comparison, like year before last year, we made 26,000 crore, profit after tax. And last year it came down to 13,000 crore because of this oil price. Because CSR depends on, the profit, whatever we make. And so that was another area of concern which has thrown up before the management of ONGC. The executive committee of ONGC, headed by our chairman and managing director of, ONGC and ONGC group of companies, and other directors, on the board, have, like taken up this all. I mean, they have, like taken all decisions on day-to-day basis as far as COVID-19 is concerned, by interacting with, like, all stakeholders within the company at different locations through video conference. And in fact, like, there were occasions when they had to interact till late in the night because, as I said, so many, like, locations were there. Now, further to take it forward, how did we go about? I got a small presentation. I'll just run through it in 10 minutes time. Can you just share it? Full view में कर दें. Go to the next. So actually what we did was like, first is like, we wanted to take care of our crew members. And like during the period, starting from, end of April onwards, we had to go in for mobilizing, like, aircrafts through Air India. And we, in fact, took the aircraft on lease. And we had to also mobilize the crew members from different locations. Because, like, they are allowed to operate from anywhere in India, starting from Pathankot, Baramulla, and various locations, even in down south, starting from Cape Comorin. And we had to provide vehicles for them to come to a location from where they could board the aircraft. Then in between, like all clearances. And besides that, like the COVID test which was required, for them before boarding the flight during those days. And similarly, then, like bringing back the crew members from the installations and getting the COVID test done. Again, like, providing vehicles for all of them to reach their, like respective location of residence. And it was a real task in itself. And in this process, within a period of about 20-25 days, we could, move out 4,000, like nearly 4,200 officers and staff from the offshore and onshore installations who were on duty. And equal number of, like, officers and staff could be moved to the respective, locations. Why I mention this? Because, like, the way we have dealt with this, the way the executive committee of ONGC has provided leadership for handling the situation to different work centers with different task forces, we had ensured that, to the greater extent possible, none of our employees initially to get infected with, this COVID-19, so that our operations, continued, and it did continue seamlessly. This was one major effort which was taken up in ONGC. And besides that, and we had, as I mentioned, another, group of customers were our retired, like people who were, in the age bracket of about 60 years. So there was a separate cell constituted at, like, Delhi with an executive director heading this, who, so this particular cell contacted each and every retired officer on board. And, like, there was a single window system by which we could get to know of, their well-being. So this was another step which we did. And followed this, we went ahead with, a lot of communications and, internal communications and various other, like, means by which we could reach to our people, educate them, and particularly to take care of, themselves. And also the standard operating procedures were evolved, and it was notified in the company, particularly while being in office, what one should do, what one should not do. And we moved on to, like, all digital platform meetings and online trainings and online, webinars. And all these, have come into place, one after the other. And a lot of, efforts have gone in. Now, this, as a result, what has happened is, like, now there is a change in the work culture, because we have also got moved into, like, work from home. And this also, in this process, I would say that, there is a CSR perspective, in the sense, like, when there was total lockdown, we moved, like, we took the clearances from the ministry, and then, went for hiring aircrafts and went for hiring vehicles. So, like, the vehicles, brought in, crew members and took them back. So we created, livelihood, like, for some of these drivers, and we were on contract with various agencies and all this. But of course, it was not booked under CSR. These are all from our operational expenses. And besides that, we have taken care of, like, the even the secondary workforce, retired employees, and everyone in such a manner so that, it does not add to the problem, on the ground. So that's a different perspective with which, we have approached, the COVID-19. Now moving on to CSR, like, yes, for, CSR, yes, there are SOPs, in the company. Go to the next. This is known, like, to every one of us, like, CSR is driven with the provisions of, Companies Act, then, companies rules, and of course, DP guidelines are there. But as far as we are concerned, yes, we have got a well, structured CSR policy in the company, duly approved by the board. And, there is a, followed by that CSR policy, we also went to the board with a standard operating procedure manual in the company, and which, defines and which clears very clearly, which stipulates as to how one should, deal with, CSR projects and proposals. And step by step, it is very well explained, and there is no ambiguity as far as we are concerned. In fact, in our company, like in ONGC, there are 26 work centers where, the CSR funds are utilized for various CSR programs. And in the year 2019, we have come out with the CSR strategy document that was also approved by the board. And like, this is how, like, this pyramid that, here we are trying, just I'm trying to show the powers are, delegated to all these authorities in the company, starting from the board. And board has delegated down below to CSR committee, EC, director HR, functional directors, chief CSR, and the key executives. So there are, different levels, and these are different levels where, the limits are also stipulated, and with which, the projects are sanctioned and then approved. Let's go to the next. Now, when we went for implementing the CSR projects on COVID, like post COVID-19, now what happened was like, the first challenge which came to us was because we were to execute some of the projects, during the lockdown and immediately after lockdown. So what is that, we did after deliberations, as a matter of strategy, we involved only the district administration, because like we did not take up the projects directly with the NGOs. So we have all our projects were implemented through district administration or with the involvement of district administration, because the representatives of district administration, they were there at the society, working at the society level and community level. And besides that, while doing so, we did encourage some of the reputed implementing and partners, particularly NGOs, who have earlier worked with us with some major projects. Like for example, I can give that Akshay Patra and like many other such NGOs. So they were involved, but again district administration was there to supervise their work. Then other than that, like what we did, like in our operational areas, as I said, we operate in 15 different states and in remote villages. Now when we like our work centers have utilized our fire services personnel in sending them with the vehicles to all nearby villages in sanitizing those villages. So this was one, step which was taken, one decision was taken by our executive committee. So as a result, in most of our operational areas, the villages were sanitized by using our fire personnel and fire vehicles. Then besides that, there were, instructions, issued to the our own, employees to actively participate in extending help to the needy people during these, times of crisis. And in fact, like some of our family members, the ONGCs, like wherever, we had colonies, they all, prepared, food and all this. They went ahead and, like some lakhs and lakhs of rupees were spent by them. They contributed, and then, like they went for, helping these, migrant laborers those days. What's next? So coming into specific terms, ONGC contributed 300 crore to PM CARES Fund, and our employees, from the salary of the employees, 29 crore was contributed to PM CARES Fund. And besides that, we have gone for distribution of all these items. 10,45,000 sanitizers, then 1,54,809 PP items, ventilators, then the mask to general public, police personnel, sanitary workers, healthcare workers, then the dry ration kits and food packets, and these numbers are mentioned, 20 lakhs, and then mass sanitation drive was undertaken. And this is just to give an idea, like as I mentioned, see our contribution in terms of funds and beneficiaries across the country has gone around like this. So totally we have spent, other than the contribution from CSR to the PM Care Fund, we have spent about 25.53 crore as on date. And these are the locations. Basically, these are the states where we are operating. So we have looked at only our operational areas as our top priority. And these are the beneficiaries, just to give an idea. So this is how we went about it. Yeah, next. And just some of the highlights, just move on. These are some of the photographs where, we helped, the migrant laborers. Here I would need to mention that a major contribution has gone, near Azira. Because in Azira, we have got a plant, and the municipal commissioner had contacted, me directly. And through Akshay Patra, we joined hands with the municipal corporation there in providing, food. to the migrant laborers, who were stationed there. And besides that, like in places like Delhi, also ISKCON had come forward, and like even many other locations where our operations were going on. So we have lent and others. Next. Like yes, so like the PPE items, yes, like we have distributed 1.54 lakh PPE items to even that includes even police personnel, the nurses, district administration. Like here I need to mention that like among the aspirational districts in a district like Osmanabad in Maharashtra, we went ahead and then like provided a considerable number of PPE items, including ventilators. There, the areas, the government hospital did not have even a single ventilator. And since this district was adopted by us, as among all the other aspirational districts, and we went ahead and provided assistance there through the district collector. Next. These are some of the photographs about where we went ahead and distributed the masks and sanitizers. Basically, this was done only in our operational area. As I'm mentioning, the beneficiaries by and large were the local villagers and nearby. And in this process, in some of the work centers, we did encourage some of the NGOs, like who had provided training for tailoring and stitching and all this, and bringing those beneficiaries, extending funds to them, and so that like they were also benefited out of this. So we went ahead in this manner. Yeah, next. And this is one more important project what we did in Maharashtra along with the Ministry of Fisheries over there, and 9,804 fishermen families were provided with the ration kits and all this, which lasted for about for a period of about 15 days worth. So this is one major project we did because we are present in Bombay. Yeah, next. And these are some of the photographs. This is how we went about like the mass sanitization drives in the operational areas. And this was done totally by our own crew members, the fire personnel who are with us and the fire service engines. Yeah. Now coming to like the challenges and the concerns. Well, like the first and foremost challenge what we had encountered in CSR was the limited availability of funds, because in ONGC, like we used to spend around 500 to 600 crore in a year. The availability of funds became a major issue for us because we had number of major projects which are there under execution. Like we are setting up a 300-bed hospital in Sivsagar, Assam, and that is costing us around 300 crore, and we are to complete this project by next year. So like this, there are such mega projects which have been approved in the company, which are under various stages, advanced stages of execution. So with those commitment, the availability of funds has become a major challenge, because today when I'm speaking, like, yes, I need to share this also. As far as ONGC is concerned, this year we have spent about around 425 crore as on date, and against our prescribed funds of around 530 crore. So hardly we are left with any funds, and this is a major issue for us. And still we are trying to meet with the requirements here and there, the need which are coming up from operational areas. And we are like, getting a lot of pressure for this from various stakeholders. And the next challenge which, we happen to have faced was during the lockdown, because like, as we all know that, usually in every CSR project when we implement, we used to join hands with the NGOs. We used to move around, and our teams in work centers were there, like with them in at various stages of implementation. And now that became a challenge during the lockdown. And finally, we had to rely upon the local district administration or the police authorities and various such other agencies who are allowed to be there. And wherever it was possible, we made our presence felt. And that's how we went about. But that was a challenge. And then, like, lastly, like, the social distancing and then observance of all the requisite protocols, clearances, and all this. These were all, they all became a challenge. But last but not the least, the NGOs themselves. Because we involve one particular agency. This, I think that this may be the case with most of the companies today, because I keep interacting with my counterparts in oil sector. And you find that they try to, one NGO gets fund, you join hands, the other NGO complains or it tries to bring in influence and trying to bring in extraneous pressure, why, like, you've given it to them, why not we? Okay, like, it's this number of issues which came up, but in our own way we have dealt with all this. This was another challenge, and this is going to be, it will be continuing, and in the days to come also. So, only these are some of the challenges or concerns what we had. And with this, just go to the, well, with this, I would like to thank, the ICSRB for having provided an opportunity to ONGC. And to conclude, what I would like to mention here is that this COVID-19 pandemic, it is not only about, simply a corporate social responsibility funds to be utilized for the project. I put it like, it should be a different CSR. That means, it is citizen, social responsibility. Each and every one of us will have to pitch in as an individual member, as an individual, from the society, as a company. How do we prevent, this to spread any further? So if we take care of ourselves, we have taken care of the community. If we take care of everybody in the company, I think the communal spread may be stopped, and it might come to an end. This is our view and our experience. And thank you very much. Thanks, Madhukar Gupta sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Parthiban sir. You are a busy man. Still to spare time and great insights. Great insights. Friends, Parthiban sir and I go back 5 years, more than 5 years, and we've seen the rough also of CSR, the good and the bad. But I think great work, and I think you have more than 2,000 projects right now.
Yes, sir. Yes.
In all, in
Yes,
total.
totally. All total.
So great job, Parthiban sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Gayatri, kindly unmute.
Director Power Grid Corporation, who started his professional career in 1985 with an MNC, followed by leading PSU NHPC. Since joining Power Grid in 1992, he has worked at different levels, sites, RHQs, and corporate center in all facets of HR, including amalgamation, turnaround, and culture building. Prior to his joining as Director Personnel, he has worked as Senior General Manager, HRD, handling flagship projects such as capacity building, restructuring policies and procedures for Northeast states, strategic alliances pertaining to learning and development for employees as well as external customers. Over to you, Mr. Singh. Sir, you need to unmute yourself, please.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Thank you, Madam Gayatri, and respected Dr. Madhukar Gupta and other people present here in the meeting. I represent a Maharatna company called the Power Grid Corporation of India. We are basically a transmission company, started in 1989, and commercial operation began in 92. And today we have a turnover of around 38,000 crore and a profit of about 12,000 crore. And our per person contribution is about 4 crores, and per person profitability is about 1.21 crore. And we own and operate about 1 lakh plus transmission network, and we are also in telecom. So today I'll talk about the success, concern, and corrections in COVID. That's the theme of the program. And as you all know that we are going through pandemic, and the pandemic is still on. And I'll tell you the things we have gone through, way we have handled not only CSR but other activities, because the most important thing in this time is how you continue your operation in all areas, like your project, your operation must continue, whatever may happen outside, but your operation must go on. So we know that there are almost 1 million fatalities till date, 32 million cases registered in India, all over world, sorry, and no authentic vaccine available. And there's a lot of fear in the fear, isolation, suspicion, disconnect with the people. And there's a lot of negativity also, but important thing is these negative things also bring us some positive actually. And this time as an organization, people are together, they have more cohesion, and it creates many possibilities. As a power grid, I'll first talk about the CSR, what we did. We immediately contributed 200 crores in PM CARES Fund. And by the various activities we have taken up, we have touched almost 2.5 million people, 2.5 lakh in India. We extended our help. Since we are present everywhere in India, almost every 50 kilometer we have, every 50 kilometer we have some presence. So we could contribute to the entire nation, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Leh to Arunachal, Assam, and Bhuj, Navsari, etc., etc. So we were able to create and give an infrastructure where things are possible, and possibility we created for distribution of food. And beside 200 crores to PM CARE Fund, we immediately sanctioned 30 crores for our internal CSR. I mean, we said this 30 crore, 200 crores to PM CARE Fund, and 30 crores will spend on for exclusive devoted to COVID. So under this fund, we distributed mask, sanitizer, PPE to the hospital, and ventilators to many hospitals. So basically, like what others have done in the COVID time, what you can do is to distribute. Important thing is sanitizer, mask. An important thing during the lockdown period was the distribution of food. So almost more than 350 odd locations in India, we were distributing food. And in this particular time, I'm very thankful to our employees and our unions who came forward and helped us in taking this challenge forward. And we were able to touch a very large population in relief work at several locations. And as far as our operations are concerned, because at this time operations are very important, and we decided that the first thing we did was as an IT, that we moved every infrastructure on IT platform. And we knew that lockdown is time to come. We are working in almost 20 more countries. We have a footprint. So we knew that what kind of things are coming. So immediately before the lockdown came, we shifted our entire system on cloud, and e-office, work from home became a norm. And so that was a big shift in the change. Earlier, like we had no experience of work from home, and then suddenly we realized that entire operation is happening well. But certain operation activities, of course, that cannot be work from home. We are in essential service. Basic transmission of electricity is an essential thing. So what we did that our frontline labor, we took them inside. All security, sanitation, horticulture staff, instead of keeping them outside, we put them inside our premises. Most of location we have our own premises. So what we did, we put the security people inside, provide them food and good living condition, and we paid them initially 250 rupees extra per day for their work, because we realized they are our frontline people, helping them was very important. So not only we give them safe condition, good living, but also extra payment also. So with this, we knew that our operation will continue. And as COVID situation started worsening, then every time we had to take new steps. Actually, you know, from the lockdown, from the initial lockdown to today, conditions are very different, and we have to steer our way, find out new possibility, creating new ways, because we wanted an operation nowhere in India were affected. Electricity is a subject where you cannot, it has to be a continuous affair. For that, we created a backup plan that if any station, if COVID happens, what we'll do, how we'll isolate people, how we'll, and the best part was that we created our own isolation centers. At the most of the regional headquarters and other important location, we thought probably, we saw there is a, people are rushing, I mean, getting out, admission in hospital was very difficult. So we thought we'll create first 3-layer facility in-house. So we created many isolation center where up till oxygen concentrated and medical supervision was made available. So that people give a confidence, yes, if anything happens, there's a positivity, actually, there's a relief, I mean, you need not have to panic. So creating of isolation center was a big on the part of employee that gave them big relief, not only to employees, but retired employees also. So, and as we moved on, these isolation centers came as a big help. And another, as long as operation was concerned, immediately when COVID started, we moved on to the strategic operation. We said, let us do the first strategic things so that our lines are not affected. We'll continue. We said our routine things we can take, routine and mundane thing will take on later, but let us focus on the strategic thing so that our transmission is not affected. That was a, and I told you, working from home, giving IT help to all the we provided them time. Then most important thing was creating a safe. The only thing you can, as an organization, you can do is to create a safe workplace is more important, and staying from negativity. These two things we thought are very important. That let's create a very safe place where people feel safe in coming to organization and working. So we did everything, providing masks, giving a kitty to people that you can buy on your own, and also creating a very safe environment within office. And like I told you, a lot of things we changed. I mean, important thing was that in the new time, it is very important that you change your policy procedure system to deal with the new kind of dimension. We never knew that we have to change a lot of policies, procedure and system to deal the problems in a new way, because it was not possible to continue in the same way earlier. So there were a lot of policy changes we brought in so that that made things easier. Even like inspection were made by virtual, quality audit was made virtual, and a lot of repair and which earlier a person, OEM person used to come from abroad and taking us 10 days. And we realized we could do it online and in a much better, much cheaper cost. So in this COVID time, we learned a lot of things which can be done in a much better way, much cheaper way, and a much easier way. This has taught us also a lot of things and give us new dimension as to how manpower can be utilized gainfully. And like I'm in HR, so I must tell you about the training. Training in the one area here in COVID time, you can really focus on, you can accelerate the speed, and we were on full throttle in terms of training. And the people who were working from home or were given stay back, they were put on the train, I mean, some training module. And this time we rolled out almost 500 Harvard business programs to our executives, and 50 artificial intelligence programs we rolled out, so that this for training. And rest all training we will continue. Whatever training we have designed will continue despite COVID. Things will go on, maybe may not be the classroom. We have 5 academies. We have closed all the academies, but the training continues. That is with regard to training. Then creating monitoring situations. And like I told, with the flexibility and relaxation of rules is the rule actually now. And at this time, you have to find new ways, creative thinking, innovation, and is the requirement of today. So we did everything which made people easy to come, easy to work, and easy to continue operation. As regard project also, I must tell you, at the time of when the COVID struck us around February, we had about 30,000 plus crores of work in hand. And we had almost 17,000 migrant labor that time stuck at different locations in India. And the beautiful thing we retained this workforce just because we provided them safe condition, we improved their living condition, provided them all possible help. And we also managed with the state administration, so that there were pressure from some state government that they wanted them to go, but we retained them. And what happened with the providing these kind of condition, even in the idling time, we out of 17,000 migrant labor, we could retain more than 70% of the workforce. And now when the lockdown condition is, we started our work. We have almost commissioned about 10,000 of, more than 10,000 of project during the COVID time. That's a learning. If you do good, you get return. I mean, we never realized that our this kind of helping hand will be ultimately helping us, that we could retain a large majority of migrant labor, which otherwise it would have been very difficult. So that is the kind of help with the CSR we rendered to the migrant labor at our own site. Beside the, I told you 2.5 lakh migrant labor, migrant moving people we helped. And so this is what regarding project operation and operation. Then during COVID time, we have added about 2560 MVA transformation capacity. Then and teleconsultation of expert, I must tell you that we were using wherever consultancy were required, we were using teleconsultation. And that was a big help. I told you the lot of repairs we did, and audit, and a lot of even accident committee investigations were and I tell you, in HR also, like all recruitment, promotion, we did not stop anything. We completed all promotion from workman W1 level to ED level were completed. No promotion were left, and we interviewed all candidates on VC, and even the committee members were sitting from their respective offices and interviewing. That's the kind of possibility this COVID created. And so we were able to complete our recruitment process also, and promotion also through virtual. And we also allowed certain reform, like you can download, or you don't need to have hard copies of bills. You can just download, and those will be processed. So an important thing was beside focusing on project and operations, we focus on the safety. Actually, I told you this at this time, creating safe place to work is more important. And we knew the challenges are always there. They will keep on evolving, and as a management, you have a only task to resolve them. And only way out this time was to relax your policies, procedure, and system, so that people find ease in working. And I told you earlier also, the flexibility, adaptability, and creative thinking and moving quickly is the need of our. And it's very important to build resilience in all your system, build resilience in whatever you do. Unlike the COVID time required that you build resilience. And I'm not focusing on the big amount we spent in CSR. Like we spent about 321 crore in CSR, including 200 crores to PM Care Fund, 30 crores to in-house our own CSR COVID dedicated fund. And but important thing was we are able to reach a large mass of people and impact nation in a very I won't say in a big way, but in a very meaningful way. And building resilience in business model was the most important thing for us. And we wanted our system to be prepared for taking up any eventuality. So preparing system was important. And we are already a very hyper lean organization. We are, with I told you, pan-India presence almost every 50 kilometers. Still we have not crossed 10,000 marks of employee. So already we are doing with less, but this COVID time realizes that that from hyper lean, you need to move to hyper efficient system. So, and the COVID has taught us a lot of new ways of new things and new learning, which definitely we'll incorporate in our future work. And the most important thing is that you have to work as a team. Here, team roles and team boundaryless organization is a very important. And when you want to do things, I mean, as a team, you can really do far better. And time is not to be afraid, and be positive and united. That is the call of the hour. And that is what I would like to stress on. And that is what we did. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, a big Power Grid being flexible and creative is a, I think, lovely combination, and that is why it gave you all the preparedness for the contingency and impact on the ground. So thank you so much for sharing your perspective, sir, and taking time out of your busy schedule. And we look forward to many more such interactions. Thank you.
I will share.
Our next, yes, sir. Our next speaker is Dr. Srinivas Shroff Nagesh Rao, who is the Chief Executive Officer at REC CSR Foundation. His role is to consolidate ongoing CSR activities at REC Limited and design a development strategy and prepare a perspective program pipeline for next 5-year period in close coordination and collaboration with other public and private sector companies, civil society organizations, national and international development organizations, and ensure effective and impact-focused implementation of the program. He has also worked earlier as a CEO of Clean Energy Access Network with a mandate to support, unify, and grow this decentralized clean energy sector in India. We are eager to learn about REC Foundation initiatives, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Gayatri. Thank you, Dr. Madhukar Gupta, for also introducing to ICSRB, and to Gayatri for inviting me to speak here. Let me first share the screen. Is the screen visible, Ms.
Yes,
Gayatri?
yes, sir. Very much visible.
Okay, okay, okay. As many of you may know, REC Limited is the main business unit, and the main work is it's NBFC, non-banking finance corporation for the power sector. And last year it did a transaction of 70,000 crores rupees plus, and they got about 6,000 to 7,000 crores as profit, and 2% of that actually is spent for CSR. And to REC Foundation is a registered society dedicated to implement the REC CSR. So we act as a independent entity in a way. We are registered as a society and implement REC CSR across the country. So with this, let me just quickly go to a few slides that I have. If you see over the last 8 to 9 years, I mean, though the theme of the today's talk is COVID and COVID times, challenges and concerns, I just thought of giving a quick overview of 2 slides or 3 slides on what we have been doing, the overall perspective, and then we move on. So in the last 8 to 9 years, we have sanctioned about 1,000 crores and disbursed about 780 crores. And primarily, it's a health sector: health, sanitation, safe drinking water, environmental sustainability, education, skill development, rural development, and significant money for the PM CARES and other funds also. So let me just quickly go to the next slide, where it gives some kind of infographics. I'm not going to read that out fully, but I want to highlight a few things. One, REC being a PSU, and we carry out the guidelines of Government of India. So Government of India, though we have Section 7 indicating these are the 12 or 14 or 15 thematic areas, but year on year there is a focus on what you should be really focusing this year, or in a 2 years period. So in 2015-16, you are aware it is reducing the open defecation, and then it came the employment, skilling, and now it is aspirational districts. Of course, this year post March there has been a kind of the focus is on healthcare, addressing the COVID. So that's why a lot of money also has gone into PM CARES fund. So in aspirational districts also, there's a lot that we did on the for COVID. So now, while we have to, the COVID is a issue, but we have commitments. So I think my previous speakers did speak of these commitments. Just the way they mentioned, we also have commitments to continue our work with aspirational districts, and there are some large projects we have to continue our commitment, and then there are ongoing projects which we have to kind of close down. Why I am listing all this is we have a concern on how are we going to meet our these targets, this closing of these projects, because people are really not able to do the way on ground, the way it would otherwise happen in business as usual. And a few hospitals which are building, which are in progress, and old age home in Leh, rural development works in Northeast and Bihar, and Swachh Action Plan also. And we are also working on the sewage water treatment plant, and then treat the water and get it as a primary use, definitely for secondary. So these are the projects that we have scheduled for the year. This is what was our plan. Now, coming to what's happening during the COVID time, few questions that we have to ask ourselves. What has changed in terms of the payments? Has something changed in terms of the payments? Yes, it has changed, because I manage about 150 crores in a year, and this time last year I had disbursed about 70 to 75 crores. This year, despite this effort, we have disbursed only 30. So it means so these 30 crores is primarily in the health sector. Rest, like whether it is or many other education, all those things are in a heart. So it means finally the money is not trickling to the people, which I'm very sure is causing a lot of hardships. So second question we have to ask ourselves as a CSR or PSU is what has changed sanctions? That is sanctioning of the funds. So if I have a budget of 158 crores for this year, 2020-21, how much did we sanction? On that front, we are fairly comfortable, because there are proposals that are coming from aspirational districts and from the health sector, which rightly so, the government also issued guidelines that focus on